if you're looking at, over 7% of the shares short when 98% are held by institutions, institutions can be some of the most stubborn individuals when it comes to waiting for their price, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I
Meaning
do.
that supply and demand just gets completely out of whack because you have 98% not available because they're not budging. They're elephants. They're not moving until they get their price, and they're big and they have tons of shares, millions and millions of dollars, sometimes billions in Fidelity Management Research and T. Rowe Price. Those two alone count for 25.44% of the entire float.
Of the
That's just
whole
two
thing.
institutions. Not to
Okay.
mention the fact that, people, had recently added positions like Goldman Sachs and, George Soros. They're all just trying to get in, and they're all going to fight over it, just like they do
Are they going to
Netflix.
fight over it like a bunch of rats that try to gnaw on the cheese and they're way too late?
Yeah, that, and they'll probably want to work those shorts over for,
Brian
you know,
Plain.
making their quarterly performance look, lackluster relative to what it should be by shorting this thing down. So, just like shorts are vindictive against longs and institutional and
But
mutual
can
fund
you
managers can be.
emphasize on the word vindictive between bull and bear, sir?
Sure, vindictive means spiteful, meaning that they're going to do whatever it takes to squeeze these shorts and to utilize that as a tool to get their price so they can get their exit and then they can appease their shareholders of their mutual fund.
All right, and would you say that MMT Scotty, who's on the call right now, who's the biggest player of everybody involved in human genome sciences, him and his father, which I'm not going to say live on tape. If he wants to, he can. But the thing about it is that um, the differences between the Fidelity firm and the SMF firm is that when you were watching those so-called top pro managers at work in their protocol and or assessment or risk management assessments, what brought you here to stay here for 6 years versus starting your youngest career in your 20s, or well, at 20, right?
Right.
Was it? Yeah, 20 years of age. You got to give yourself big credit, young man.
I
And
do. And
how old are you today?
I'm 31 years old
Well, you
today.
got 11 years in the whole deal.
Yeah, I'm tenured now, right?
Well, the thing about it is you learned the difference between fiction and factual.
That's exactly right. If I want to
Can
get,
you emphasize on that, Brian, Plain, in
I certainly
your
will.
career?
One of the things that I always, felt interesting about what Fidelity provided its employees or its, clients is
Uh-huh.
that everything is in a 3 to 6 month rear view mirror, and it's always not about individual stocks. And they actually frowned on people that wanted to trade individual stocks or had high concentrated positions in individual stocks because they're always preaching asset allocation, diversification, long-term investing. But in 2007, when I left, when the markets were at the peak, when I was talking to you and you were saying we're going to have 3 consecutive downward corrections of 15% in the S&P 500. And I'm like, I'm sitting here having all my associates preach asset allocation, stay invested, and we can't tell people to sell. Well, that just doesn't
Okay,
seem right.
wait. When you couldn't tell people to sell, that weighed on your conscience, young man?
It certainly did.
Because they were not able to take the other position
I know how
or the
much these
other
people
side of no,
make.
but listen, listen, Brian Plain. With all due respect, if you could be with those very people today, what would you be doing for them, sir?
Well, I probably would have been
Would you be
relocated
getting
more
them
than
short
two
on the market? Would you
occasions.
be getting them short to make money?
Absolutely not. You know why? Do you know why? Because number one, I can't hold a short position. Number two, I can't buy a put option unless it's an index put option or a quad Q or an
Oh,
SPY or
you're
a
talking about
DIA.
your restrictions versus being
Yeah,
here. Is that what you're
multiple
talking about?
restrictions. I mean, it's designed where you have to be just like them.
Yeah, and you have to do what they want you to do instead of you being independent and making the money where the tape goes.
And one of the things that they did in the last year that I was there is they put those same restrictions on the mutual fund holders. So they put this thing called a short-term redemption fee when it was 1%. And if you sold your mutual fund within 3 months of buying it, you got charged 1%. So if you have $1 million, that's 10 grand right into Fidelity's coffer.
Are you serious?
And then you would, that's a psychological barrier to exit. I don't want to pay 10 grand. I got $1 million. I'm already down a little bit. But then they'll write it down all the way, and they did in 2008, right after I left. They wrote it down all the way, and then,
But you were with me in 2008, so who was making money?
We were.
And you know how you said we? Because that's what you wanted to do for those people, but you were handcuffed and you couldn't.
Exactly right.
And you know what, young man? I'm glad that you have come to be a conscionable. How do you say the word, Brian Plain?
A conscious mind.
A conscious mind for what it's like to be a market maker and understand the debit structure.
And that's the one thing, I honestly, when I started there when I was 20, I was so passionate about stocks. I figured, a place like Fidelity Investments, that's the greatest place to go, to learn about the equity markets, right?
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, the people that are teaching me, they went to school to be a veterinarian,
Oh, well, that's nice. I cared about animals. Can't knock that.
No, but they didn't know anything about stocks. All they knew was asset allocation, mutual fund, blah blah blah.
All the peanut butter retail model stuff. Right. Is that what you're saying? Okay, that's why you've been here.
And no one knew anything about stocks, and it was very sad because I never really had a mentor like you or anybody to really teach me, the ins and outs. When you have to make the mistakes on your own, sometimes they can end up being expensive.
Well, the thing about it is, someone like me would have to have compassion and love for another individual, and that's why I do what I do, because I know that the more people I educate, the more people that I help, that is an existing talent that they can take forward, and I take great pride in that, just like I do for the FDA news release on human genome sciences for people who suffer with Benlysta. And after a 56-year-long thing is that we know the different kinds of mindsets and scatterbrains on Wall Street, right, Brian Plain? And that they will continue to try to put the bear rate on it now that they're caught. True or false, sir?
That's absolutely true.
All right, let me ask MMT Scotty what his view is on that part of it.
Which part in particular? I definitely understand that it ain't over till it's over. And
well, no, I mean, Brian Plain has a very long, extensive, he's got 11 years in the industry and whatnot. And he went from, Fidelity owning the most of human genome sciences to start with, and being a long-term employee there and whatnot and all the mindsets. But when we really get down to it is, MMT Scotty, you being in your first year of the apprenticeship program that we offer, is what is your humble view about the learning process? And outside of people that can wake up tomorrow morning and get a treatment, but when you were going through the actual investment, what was your true educational process that you went through? And did you have a very well-defined plan that you went through? And was it very restrictive at that? And go ahead and tell me, sir.
Well, I guess to sum it up in one word, it would be uncanny. And what I mean by that is you're not going to find it anywhere else.
You got to remember, I'm Italian, so I don't know what canny means. What does that mean?
Uncanny. I mean, it's unique, original.
Oh, okay.
Definitely, one of a kind. You're not going to find it anywhere else. It's a very special thing, and it's for all the reasons that Brian said. I mean, the vast world of information out there is an ocean that ebbs and flows, goes back and forth. There's nothing to make sense out of it. There's no system.
Well, wait, sir. Wait. Now, part of human genome technology is the autoimmune system. And we need to stay focused on the core elements as to why that this is much further than just for the victory of the Benlysta people in the morning. Excuse me.
Well, right, and that's the point I was heading towards, is that, there's been lots of, obviously in the bear raid side of things, lots of things to have been focused and grabbed on, and within that structure, how do you make sense of it all when you're trying to find out the true facts of what the results are, what the company is finding, what the science is, what the results were, what the FDA is saying, what the company and the CEO are saying. How do you make sense of it all? And the system that we use to be able to discern that and stick to our guns.
Well, now that's the FDA government agency.
Well, I'm talking about how, how I learned here, how to approach the trade, how to do
yeah, as far as that goes. Okay.
But the bear raid and the manipulation on the stock has been something that I have certainly never ever experienced, and probably would never have from a public model.
You see what that says? First new lupus drug approved in 56 years. And in your apprenticeship at stockmarketpunny.com, you were put on this many months ago. Why don't you tell me what date that was and what kind of some of the checklist was investing in a biotech company that you had to go through? If you would,
I think I first started really seriously looking at it in June, when about a month after I had joined.
June of what?
2010.
Oh, okay.